Hello you and welcome. If you're new here, my name's Rebecca. Welcome to my home and welcome to my channel. Today I am sitting in my favorite place first thing of the morning before getting started with my week. We had a couple of mornings with low humidity, so I took advantage of it. Although the bunnies, birds, and bugs are all having a wonderful life at our little homestead out there, we still have a lack of rain, so therefore we're still watering the trees. Speaking of trees, the beetle bugs are eating all of my crepe myrtle tree up, rose bushes, anything that's blooming. So we do need to take care of the beetle bug problem. So Larry's been talking about this Ace Hardware store in Harrodsburg. So we're heading over there. We do need to pick up some of the Japanese beetle bug traps. We used a couple of them last year, but this year the beetles are, I don't know if it's because of lack of rain, but they are just everywhere and so many of them. So I wanted to go with Larry to this Ace Hardware and find out what all the hoopla was about. And although he loves to shop at this place, I really didn't find a whole lot in there for me. It's a hardware store, what can I say? Although I did find some little lawn characters that would go out in the lawn. Although this bug here, I mean, it's just so creepy. And whoever made that, were their intentions just to scare little kids? Because that's pretty creepy to me. I wouldn't want it in my landscape. But anyway, just looking around, a lot of hardware stuff and looking for Mr. Fix-It. And here he is over here getting the Japanese beetle traps. We're getting 3 because these beetle bugs are just everywhere on everything. I've never seen them this bad. In my neighbor's tree, it's just everything's eaten off of it, but just the veins of the leaf. It looks very funny. And I've seen quite a few on our Japanese maple tree out front. So we want to get these taken care of. It does have a strong scent to it, and you place these bags 20 to 30 feet away from any of your blooming plants because you don't want to attract them to the plant, but it's supposed to attract them away from your plants, and then they get trapped in these bags and then you empty it. On our way out, look how adorable to bring in the kids or grandkids their own little shopping carts and trike. How fun is that?
Stick this thing on. There's a Japanese beetle sitting right there eagerly awaiting.
So here is Mr. Fix-It fixing these up, and just standing here before he even opened the package, the smell is really strong to me. He's going to put these together and hang them out in the yard. But just while he was doing this alone, the bugs were starting to gather, and if you look closely, you'll start to see them starting to gather up here on the deck. There's hundreds of them.
Oh, they are right here.
They'll be there in a minute.
No, they're here. Have fun, boys.
Like I said, there were so many that Larry had to empty the bag before the day was over. For this portion of the video, this week's cleaning was originally going to be blinds and windows, but somehow we got sidetracked and started organizing the garage. We had all of that garage sale items that we had thrifted during the beginning of summer. And what I needed was all of the fall and all of the winter stuff put together and all of the farmhouse stuff organized separately so that I can work it, clean it, price it, and get it ready for the season to go down to the booth. So we decided to spend our time getting that organized and separated. While cleaning up the garage, I found an old sign, and some of you may remember this sign. When I first started my YouTube channel 5 years ago, believe it or not, I did some DIYs. I had set up a room for just for doing DIYs, and this sign, you can't see it very well in the photo, but it hung above my head, above my workstation, and it was Farmhouse at Meadow Hill, which is what my channel used to be. But I have now changed it. We're not on Meadow Hill anymore. I'm going to redo this. This was done with my Cameo silhouette, and I want to just take this vinyl off of it. It is peeling some of the paint with it, and I probably use some E6000 on that little windmill. I'm not even going to sand it or anything like that. I'm going to tape up the edge of the frame because I do like the color of the wood. And this sign was one that Larry had made for me years ago. But I'm going to make a chalkboard out of it, and I'm going to make a sign for the booth. So I'm real excited about decorating the booth for the autumn season coming up, and I can't wait to share that with you. So I'm just using this chalkboard paint, and it will take 2 coats to cover this, and then I will use a paint pen to trace out some letterings that I want on this board, on this sign. Just in case you're wondering how we are withstanding the heat in the workshop, Larry had put in a Mr. Cool unit, a HVAC heating and air unit, so that allows us cool in the summer and warmth in the winter. And he did install it himself. I think they're around $2,000, but he did all the installation himself and saved some money there, and we are really enjoying it in the workshop. This item here, I am showing you just a little bit of it. I thrifted this item, and I am going to make a sign for my own home. And if you want to see what I'm doing with it, it's going to be over on my other channel, the Lancaster Thrifter, under my Thrift Item Rescue. And I'll have that coming up shortly over on that channel, and you can find that link in the description box below. They said that this piece of wood here, I got it for $4, and they said that they used it as a game board and puzzle board so that they could move it around as needed. And so it was very well made. And for $4, I could envision making a sign the day I picked it up at their garage sale. After letting the second coat dry overnight, I wanted to take a box cutter and score this tape and the paint because I didn't want to pull the tape up after it drying overnight. I didn't want to pull the tape up and it take some of the paint. So I found some lettering that I like, and I'm just putting them in place, going to tape them down, take a paint marker, and then I'm going to paint the inside of this. Now I'm measuring here for the center of the board. And once I find the center of the board, one of the things that I didn't do was separate the words enough. So I wound up putting a little dash in there. But if I do another one, I'll have to remember to move the words a little bit further apart. So we learn from our mistakes, but it still don't look bad. This sign is going down in my reset for fall at the booth, and that will also be shared over at the Lancaster Thrifter channel. All of my booth reset, what I make from that, and my hauls and stuff like that. But the sign says Autumn Market, and I've really enjoyed painting it. I've taken it in the house while having my coffee, and I'm using some tape because I want some white lines, one at the top and one at the bottom. And I'm not very good at drawing a straight line, so I'm going to go ahead and use my painter's tape and make sure it's sealed down really good, and then I'm just going to paint that on. And I'm not going to leave the tape on overnight. I'm going to give it about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to pull this tape off and then let that white paint dry overnight before I start painting the letters. I found these little wood pumpkins. They were actually on one of those Dollar Tree trucks from years ago. I still had one. I just scored that off. They're wood and painted them white. I'm going to use a little bit of E6000 and going to put that in the middle of the sign between Autumn Market and put some weight on it and let them dry overnight. Here's my Autumn Market sign all ready to go down to the booth, so I'm happy to get that done. Now, speaking of Autumn Market, I stopped by Hobby Lobby this week, and I've got a video coming out, share with you what I found and what they have new, some other details about Hobby Lobby this year. I was a little disappointed in some of the stuff, but I'll let you know in that video, and you can find that at this channel here, Rebecca Rohr Home, and look for that one coming up this week, and then I will share with you the new items that I picked up for my home. Now, after all of that shopping, I'm getting hungry. So let's go home and do some cooking. In today's recipe, I have 2 chicken breasts, some penne pasta. I will use a half a box of that. That's for me and my husband. Some pesto, basil, and oregano. I don't wind up using the Italian seasoning, but you can if you have that on hand. Some pine nuts, Kalamata olives, and we have some cheesy bread left from yesterday, and I'm going to heat that up along with our meal. Also, some extra virgin olive oil. I like the smooth, and Larry likes the robust, so I'll use both since I have them both on hand. I have my skillet for fixing my chicken. I have the little egg pan. I love that dish to make eggs, but I'm going to roast the pine nuts in that. I've got the pan for my pasta. I'm going to add it half full with water and go ahead and get that started so that the water can boil and the pasta cooks for about 18 to 20 minutes. And in the meantime, while that is starting to heat up and cook, I will cut up on my chicken. I also have out my strainer to strain the pasta, so I like to get all of my utensils ready when I get started to cook, so that I'm not having to hunt something down or something may be dirty in the dishwasher. So I'm all set and prepared to go. Now I want to let you know that this recipe is not one that I got from any book. We love an Italian restaurant called Bellanote's here in our area in Lexington, Kentucky. So if you ever visit and you love Italian, don't miss out. Go visit them. It is wonderful. But my favorite is a penne Kalamata, and Larry's is penne pesto. So I make both dishes doing it this way. Now on my chicken breast, I'm cutting off the part that's a little tough, and nobody wants to eat that. So I'm not even gonna, try to cook it and then try to chew on it later either. So I'm gonna cut this up in bite-sized pieces. But if you get the opportunity to cut these in strips and grill them so that you have the little grill marks on it, it would really, really be good. But since the grill master is busy out in the workshop, I'm going to cook them this way today. Just for the two of us, I'm only going to cook a half a box of the penne pasta. If you're cooking for more, just add to the recipe. If you're cooking for 4 or 5, I would use the whole box. But I'm going to go ahead and get this started. I did add a little salt so that the pasta doesn't stick. And I do put my spoon there on the edge of my pan. You'll see me do that a lot of times when I'm cooking, because in case I get busy and forget, the pot won't boil over. So adding my chicken to my skillet, I'm just going to brown it. I don't add any oil, any butter. A little salt, a lot of pepper is what we like, and just going to brown the bite-sized chicken bites in the skillet. On the pine nuts, I'm only going to use half a package. We don't need that many, and some of you may think that that's quite a few, but I do roast them, and I just roast them in the pan. The little egg pan is going to be wonderful for this. And I turn my heat on medium, and I will continually shake them around because I just want to brown them a little bit, and it brings out the oil of the pine nut and gives it so much flavor. We've actually had this dish without it, but it's so much better with those pine nuts, and they're so much better if they're roasted. And you're going to see that I brown mine a little bit too much. They almost turn black, but they're still okay. They still have a lot of flavor. Without using a temperature probe for my meat, usually if I can take my wooden spoon and easily cut a piece of the chicken, I know that it is done. Now I have 2 bowls because I'm fixing 2 dishes. I'm dividing out the pine nuts between the 2 dishes. This will make 2 meals for the both of us. And then I'm going to divide up the chicken in each one of the dishes, because I'm making 2 dishes here, one for Larry and one for myself, like we would order at the Italian restaurant. And he usually would order the penne pesto, and I would order the penne Kalamata, and dividing up the pasta between the 2 dishes. And in mine, there on the left, I will use some basil and some oregano. And if you don't have these and you have the Italian seasoning, you can use that instead. But if these are all optional. You don't have to use any of them at all if you don't want to. But to make it that Italian dish, I do like a little bit of herbs in my pasta dish. The Kalamata olives, and I do like a few extra in mine. And although I would say 1 heaping spoon would normally be enough, Larry loves the pesto, so I put extra in there for him. He likes all that flavor. And I'm putting a little drizzle of the olive oil, smooth in mine and robust in his. Usually I'll just use what I have on hand, but since I have both, I'm going to mix these up. The pine nuts are in the bottom, and mix it up really good. Most of the time when you get the dish in the restaurant, it's the pasta, and then you have your meat on the top, and then you can put some fresh parmesan on these. Forgot that part. Here is our plates, and along with the cheesy bread that we had left over from our Little Caesars pizza last night, and we're going to enjoy this meal. After the meal, it's just time to clean up the kitchen, and of course, Larry helped clean up the kitchen. But once it was done, I like to take this Clorox cleaner and spray down my sink and just disinfect it, because when I have raw meat in my kitchen, I'm just worry about cross contamination, and I'll let that set for 5 or 10 minutes and then come spray it out so it sanitizes my sink. After our meal, Larry goes out to the workshop, and this is something he's working on. I thought I would share this with you. We got it for $20 down at Vendor Village, and we're going to paint it, clean it up, and straighten out a little bit of the punch tin and take it to the booth. And oh, by the way, if you want to see how that cabinet turns out, be sure and go over to Workshop Larry. He has his own YouTube channel, and he is working on that, and you'll be able to see it there. And you can find that link to his channel in the description box below. While he is out at the shop, I thought I would go to one of my favorite spots and enjoy a nice sunset for the evening.